Hey, everybody. It's Elizabeth. We're talking all things AI today, and I thought I would grab my coworker, Jason, to tag along with me to join in the conversation. We're going to be talking about using AI in marketing, what we think will be the next hot AI trend, and then also UI, UX, design, all that good stuff. So yeah, Jason, do you mind introducing yourself to the to the listeners,
Jason,
subscribers, whatever.
viewers.
One, yeah, wonderful people.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on with you. I mean, we chat all the time about this stuff, and so it's cool to just do it on the podcast, talk about AI. I use it not only at work, but in personal life in really hilarious ways. So, yeah,
Right.
exciting to talk about. But yeah, I'm a UX UI designer on the team, so designing a lot of things, helping build websites, even marketing plans, and everything in between. And so our team, I feel like as a whole, uses AI in a lot of ways to
Mm-hmm.
boost our processes as a jumping off point for a lot of things. So I think it'll be interesting to share what we're doing, but then also to hear how other people are utilizing it, because it's still it's definitely a wild west of am I using this right? You
Yeah.
know, you know.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, I know internally we use not just HubSpot AI, but a lot of different AI platforms. And I'm not promoting this one, but I wanted to shout out to Grammarly. I've been using Grammarly for years. It's probably one of my favorite ones, especially because obviously it's going to help you with writing, make suggestions, but if you purchase a plan, something like a Grammarly, I'm sure there's other solutions out there. I'm just deep into the Grammarly weeds here. You can do tone of voice and brand voice and things like that. And one of my favorite features in it is a tone indicator, because when you're communicating with someone, your intent, but the end user doesn't. And I'm sure everybody's gotten the email where it's all caps with lots of exclamation points. And unless you know that person, you're not sure what they mean by that. And so even though that's a kind of a odd one to start off with, I think that's the one that I've used the most and has personally impacted me, because I didn't realize that my tone of voice when I email specifically was very direct.
I need to jump on that.
Right?
I'm a person who uses explanation points after every sentence, and so mine it would probably
Mm-hmm.
correct a lot of that. It would be
Mm-hmm.
chill out on the exciting exclamation points. I
Yeah.
have, though, when we've had client interactions and I want to get something across, or I want it to be worded in a way that'll get them to open the email, or that'll be clear
Mm-hmm.
with all the information we're sending them. I've definitely gone into ChatGPT and been like, yo, I have this client, they're doing this. I need to communicate this with all these links. How would you do it? And boom, spits it right out.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great segue into one of my favorite AI use cases, when you have writer's block.
Dude.
Right? It
Yeah.
happens. And especially on things that are important, but people feel aren't important, like meta descriptions. It's really your short sales pitch for your
Oh my
page,
gosh.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the one that gets overlooked the most, especially since you and I have worked on so many web migration projects. The amount of pages that come to us that do not have metas
No.
is
Well, that's even
astounding. Meta
in
descriptions.
HubSpot makes that really easy too. We work a
Mm-hmm.
lot in HubSpot. So it's in their meta, and depending on what tier you're in, I mean, they have AI right there where you can click it and be like, read this page and give me a meta. And it does
Mm-hmm.
it, and it's like, oh my gosh. And they're not the best all the time,
No.
but it gives you
Yeah.
something to work from, like you said. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I always, and maybe this is an odd comparison, but I'm going to say it anyway in case it's helpful for anybody. I approach AI kind of I don't know if anybody out here has watched Ghost Hunters. It's an old TV series,
For
but you
sure.
know how they go and they investigate haunted places, but there's always a healthy dose of skepticism, right? They're trying to explain the bumps and the creaks, and they're plumbers, right? The original series, the two main dudes were plumbers, and they're like, you know what, this is a leaky pipe, or what you're hearing is a drip in a faucet, or it's a branch, scraping on a tree. And so if you take the concept of a healthy dose of skepticism and kind of bring it over to AI, what I mean by that is yeah, you can use it, but you shouldn't completely trust it, because it's only as good as the trained data that it's got. And so it's a catch 22. If you don't use it, you won't get results. But if you do use it over time, it'll be better, right?
That is such a good point, because I find myself doing that. We use it I'll use it for wireframing. Like just I'll feed it all the persona stuff, all the information about the client, competitors. And hey, if we're working on the
Mm-hmm.
homepage, give me a homepage that'll, best solve the problem for the client, whatever, or
Yeah.
for the customer. I really do. I find myself, I can't take that and just build a homepage.
Yeah, you can't trust it completely,
It'll
right?
use words like revolutionize and like,
Yeah.
like it'll use like big, like really
Mm-hmm.
tired words that are exhausted online that people don't
Mm-hmm.
respond well to. It'll use a lot of that, but you're right. If I just comb through it and I highlight
Mm-hmm.
sections and I'm like, hey, you were lazy on this, make this more personal. And then it
Mm-hmm.
does something pretty good. And then I'm like, okay, we can work from that. Like, I don't know. AI hasn't been around, at least for like, our area for that long, but I'm already to a place where I'm like, I don't know what it was like before a little bit. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, this,
Yeah.
I'm using it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I think, like, because you brought up personas and content and things like that, I feel like one of the top areas to use it is for that purpose for marketing. Because I mean, I've worked with a lot of marketing and sales teams in general over the years. And the one trend I notice is that everybody thinks they know their target audience, and most people do, at least to some degree. But AI might be able to spot an anomaly or a new trend, or maybe give you some type of insight that you were maybe blind to.
Yeah.
I'll use that phrase.
Yeah.
Or didn't notice because it was outside of the norm. So, yeah, I mean, if there's one thing working in HubSpot can teach you is that data transparency and the contact record. You can get a lot of insight from those, but then by leveraging AI, it might be able to pull something else out that you weren't aware of. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Or like figure out what type of content your audience resonates with, because we know there's people that comprehend audibly, some need to read it, so you might have watchers and readers, and so like along those lines you might be able to have like a better balance of that type of stuff depending on what your audience resonates with. Hopefully that makes sense. But like
It's good.
yeah.
That's really where it's at. It's like, it's a solution to writer's block in every area,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, isn't
Yeah.
probably boiled down, that's probably what it is currently, like, because the image stuff isn't great, the video stuff,
Right.
they send our team AI videos sometimes.
There's like 6 fingers on a hand and 2 elbows on the
They're
arm.
scary and so funny. This is dumb, but I was playing around with Sora, the ChatGPT video maker, and I was trying to get it because I wanted to make you guys laugh. I was trying to get it to do a guy picking his nose in space. And like, I wanted to send that, but no matter what prompt I gave it, it wouldn't pick his nose. And
Interesting.
it would go around and he would like have his finger on his face, which has nothing to do with work, but I was just so fascinated that I was like, I cannot get this AI to pick a nose. Like, that is so frustrating, It's like, why is it in control? You should do what I say, basically,
Right. Yeah, which like that's funny. I've definitely had that where it's like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because I did that once where I wanted to put in like a funny thing to the team, of course, where it was like a ninja or somebody fighting something and it said it doesn't promote violence. And I'm like, but it's a cat fighting another, like it's not. Anyway.
The truth, man. But yeah, streamlining things, getting content
Mm-hmm.
out, like your, design background too. And just like
Mm-hmm.
my weak points are content, and like math, and so I was like, how do I sum that up? But like,
Math.
using AI like is amazing. Like, to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
it's a jumping off point for content, so I can get started putting ideas together. And then even from I say math, but like, we analyze a lot of data for websites, conversions, whatever here, and I use it a lot to just even get some of that translated. Like, if I can't, well, if I look at a dashboard, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what users are doing, but just for fun, let's see what AI pulls, especially if they know the persona. And I give
Mm-hmm.
that same chat, like, hey, here's data on the past, 6 months of whatever. It may give me some extra insights to like, hey, this persona probably doesn't like to read that much. And you got a lot of tech, it,
Mm-hmm.
it translated in a way that gets me thinking even more,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. My other favorite feature, and I show this to clients all the time, and this one actually is HubSpot specific, is to use Breeze Copilot to summarize a record. So like in the event that, you're an account manager like me, you're handed an account from someone else and you're like, I'm not familiar with this. As long as your team has done their due diligence and logged and tracked things in HubSpot, well, not the track, but logged, you can have AI summarize records and save you a little bit of time in investigating, unless you need to do a deeper dive. So that's probably another tip. Yeah, it just helps along the way. And then other things would be like getting AI to do things like the equivalent of your dishes and laundry, like those manual repetitive tasks.
Yep. We talk about
so
that.
So that you, the human, have time to do the things that only humans can do, which would be like refine the content that AI generates, or actually create an image of an astronaut picking their nose in space.
Oh yeah, like that's the next revolution of AI. If I can get it to pick a nose, that will know. That's what's the test they give AI to see if it's alive, if it's actually conscious.
That's when we'll know.
That's going to be. I was listening to an interview with Sam Altman, the ChatGPT guy, and he said they were talking about like jobs and like, everybody's just like when email came out, everybody was like, what is this going to do for jobs? Whatever. And so he was asked, like, what's the future going to look like for working, like with jobs? Will they be eliminated? So one, he gave the basis of like, well, with every new technology, we find new jobs.
Yeah.
So, or the current jobs just morph and shift. That always happens. So don't worry. The second thing he said, which I thought was really cool, was he said, up until this point in human history, it's been all about, if you look at a person, it's about how much knowledge they've held, right? So that's, PhDs, like people that, like, if you hold more knowledge as a human being, you're typically paid better, higher job, stuff like that. He said that was the past. He thinks the future will be less about holding knowledge and just more about being a better connector. So like being able to connect everything rather than hold everything, because knowledge will be easier for everyone to obtain. We saw that with the internet and YouTube and all that stuff, right? Like knowledge is just easier to obtain, so it's less valuable. But actually having the common sense on how to connect and get the results you want will actually be a more valued trait in the future. And I thought that was awesome. And maybe I thought that was awesome just because that would be good news for me, Sometimes I feel like I don't hold a lot of knowledge, but I'm like, I have some common sense of like, this dot connects to this one, A plus B equals C kind of thing,
You can do math is what you're saying.
Yeah. I can.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. What do you think about that? I thought that was really cool.
That's interesting because I feel like those soft skills, if you want to call them soft skills, are things that, that's an interesting concept. I never thought of it that way, but I could see that where like when you come into play with interpersonal dynamics, and is that the right word? I don't even know.
Yeah, like
team dynamics, communication, basically structuring your day, time management, getting stuff done, things that AI can't do, which goes back to the whole like get AI to do the manual repetitive tasks like dishes and laundry so that you can do the things that AI can't do, which is talk to your teammates. I mean, I guess you could get AI to give you a message to send to them, but ultimately you, the human, need to know what it is they need or want.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that soft skill of like, it's always been important to like the people you work with and to hire people who have integrity and who are good vibes on the team and work hard and stuff. I think that'll just continue to be a higher value, especially when everybody it's less about the knowledge and more about common sense and being a good team player, I got another question. Where do you think, so with that, we've kind of talked about like, that's AI for up until now, right? What do you think 2025 is going to hold in terms of like AI? Do you think it's going to be like some other revolution, even in HubSpot or in our other AI platforms we use? Or do you think like, I don't know, AI is going to become sentient and we don't have to work anymore?
No, I feel like the next one is getting or hiring AI different things to like do specific tasks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like AI agents or
Yeah, like a coworker, but it's not a coworker. It's not a human. It's an AI person. I mean, I know that I'm getting into like Matrix type stuff. That's what I
it
think
is
of
because
when I hear agents
I'm like, do
and
they get
things.
PTO? Do they?
Do they get PTO? Do they collect sales commission?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like that would probably be, maybe it exists now and I'm just, oblivious to it or something like that. But having AI to do certain things, or maybe like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my best guess right now.
you're right, because it's a lot like a calculator now. I
Mm-hmm.
have to pick it up, I have to type into it and teach it. It probably is the next step in 2025, but in just 1 year, I don't know if we'll get fully autonomous agents that you will just hire and not have to touch anything that they're doing. Like
Yeah.
that's the dream,
Right.
to like, hey, we're hiring this agent just for email marketing campaigns, and all we have to do is say, hey, make it for this client, and it just does. Or we
Mm-hmm.
don't even say anything; it just proactively knows the campaigns and just does it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to predict where it's going. I think the tools we're currently using are just going to get way better
Yeah.
in
Same.
8 years' time. Like the breeze in HubSpot, there's some kinks in it, just
Yeah.
like anything else, but it's going to get way better. I think ChatGPT and its understanding and capability are just going to get a little bit better. I mean, just like iPhone progression, it'll probably be faster, but it'll get better. I think. I hope. You
Yeah.
know.
And then maybe even more personalization, or maybe personalization options
Yeah.
expand, with AI at the helm.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there are any because we talk about this a little, especially with certain contact records and stuff. Do you think there are any challenges or risks in using AI for your own business, or for if your agency's using it, or
Yeah.
is there anything weird with that?
I know some organizations take a firm stance against AI, and I get that and I respect it, especially in the infancy, right? If we want to call this the infancy, even though it's kind of not, it's like an awkward teenager maybe. And I get that. And so a lot of times what I run across is people are like, no, we don't want this at all. And so I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's almost like I respect it, but also I feel like there may be opportunity to get things like a Grammarly, for example, or in HubSpot, you can do like tone of voice, brand tone of voice, things like that, that there's small steps towards an AI adoption. You don't have to fully do it, but I don't know. I feel like in order to keep up with the times,
You have to.
you
Yeah.
have to at some point, but maybe it's not right now. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
Well, yeah. Because they're
I
probably
think privacy and data concerns are the biggest issue, is what I
yes.
think that's a better way to say it. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Especially so we have pro accounts on some of these, and it keeps the data private. It's not used to train
Right.
the thing as a whole. So
Right.
if you're using it as a free, type thing, like, you work in a hospital on marketing or something, and you have a free Chat GBT account that you're trying to use
Yeah.
to make
Don't use it for.
don't use it for patient data. Yeah, because it's training the full model, and we don't know. I don't think anyone knows the legalities of that yet. But all it takes is
Mm-mm.
one case to pop up, and it's going to get, it's going to be weird and wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other challenges? I don't know. Like current challenges, I would say still you can't just rest on it and not still educate yourself in whatever field you're in, right? So like a good example, I'm not the best at workflows and stuff like that in HubSpot. Like building them out. I can ask ChatGPT all day to make me a cool workflow, emails, write it, do all this stuff. Do I know how to set those up effectively in HubSpot so that they're killer and actually engaging to customers? Not as well. And so that would be for me to fully lean on AI for that and ignore my actual training, it's going to not be good. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel like you still need to work on your own skills, and you can't fully rely. Again, it's a starting point still. It's not the end all.
Yeah. And actually, you gave me a good idea where you can leverage AI to train and develop your team. That's one of the number one ways to retain an employee, right?
Wow.
Is to invest in their learning and their development and their career path and things like that. And so if you ask ChatGPT things, like maybe there's a performance review, and maybe, like we'll take your example where you're struggling to build workflows in HubSpot. I know this is an obvious one, but like maybe we get Jason with somebody on the team that's really good at building workflows and you just job shadow, or we give you something that's slightly challenging, but it's doable, but it's a stretch goal with workflows, in HubSpot. I think everybody can like benefit from AI from there, because sometimes you're like, well, I know what to do, but I don't know how to implement it. You know what I mean? Or I don't know how to do this. And even if you took the initiative by yourself, where you're like, all right, I need to learn how to build custom reports in HubSpot. That's one that, everybody gets tripped up on. I feel like most people, I should say, not everybody, doing things like that. Maybe even taking your own initiative if you're able to.
That's really good. That's a great one. Because like I recently, ChatGPT came out with, it can remind you of stuff. So you can set it, you can schedule it to send you prompt or to send you whatever you ask it to. And so just to test it, I scheduled it to send me like once a day, send me a new UX principle and best practice. Like so I open it first thing in the morning, and it's been pretty cool because it's connected to the internet. So it'll send me like one, and then maybe have a little blurb from a snippet of a blog, and it'll have the link to it if I want to go to it, to use it as your own personal development. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Or even a teaching tool. Like last year I taught an advanced web design class, and I told them that they could use AI instead of lorem ipsum. Right. And I know that's a silly idea, but I told them like your final project is your portfolio site. The goal of this is to help you get a job, and the site needs to sell you and what you do and what makes you unique. So use AI if you're stuck with writing, because I get writing is not everybody's jam, and if you're a designer, you got into design because you like designing, possibly not because you like writing.
You end up doing a lot of writing.
You do. So designers, pro tip, get your content skill chops beefed up a little bit
to help
and have AI do it. But to help them, you could ask ChatGPT, for example, to write what you've done in different tone of voice if you're trying to align it with a brand tone of voice. Like I worked for a company once where we could make people smile but not laugh out loud. That was literally in our copy style guide. And I get that's subjective, right? Because well, you are too, Jason. We both love really bad dad jokes, like a lot. So stuff. In fact, if you have any, drop them in the comments. We'll 100% appreciate it.
Yes.
So I get that smiling and laughing out loud is subjective, but I think you get where the idea of that is going. I don't know how ChatGPT would perform with that, but if you asked it to say, make this, friendly, this should be professional, this should be witty.
Well, and at the end of the day, it's better placeholder than lorem ipsum, and it'll give a client more to jump off of if you're looking for feedback. Like, it could be the worst stuff that's like revolutionize this, blah, blah, just the worst headline ever. But then your client's going to read that and be like, I hate that. I would say maybe it's like this,
revolutionize data-driven decisions. And
if the client says they love that, you just need to cancel your contract with it. You just need to be like, sorry, there's no hope here. I can't train that. Okay, as we wrap up, the last piece, if you could give we've talked about a lot, if you can give one piece of advice for someone nervous about adopting AI at work today, what would it be?
Start small. You don't have to do all of it all at once, and be selfish about it. Do something that's going to help you during your day.
Yeah.
Especially if, there's people on Web Canopy's team that use AI way more than I do, which is fine. Like, do something that will help you, that's comfortable, that doesn't go against any business or company policies or anything like that. That's where something like a Grammarly or something in HubSpot, for example, if you are a HubSpotter, comes into play. Yeah. So that's what I would do, is start with one area, see how it goes. And then, because you don't have to fully go into content remix, for example. If that is just overwhelming to you, it's cool, but there's a lot of potential and possibilities. And I could see where it'd be slightly overwhelming, where you're like, so just start small. Start with meta descriptions on your website.
Yeah, I think my answer would be the same to that. I would say just make a ChatGPT chat GPT account, right? For free. Say you're a marketer at a huge corporation, whatever, and you're just kind of a tiny seat in a big marketing pond, and you know, just make a free account. And then your first chat, think of like what you need done. So think of, all right, your job has been tasked with a marketing plan for XYZ. Literally just start in ChatGPT and be like, I need a marketing plan for this. Here's a little pro tip. And then say, what questions do you need answered to make this really good? You know, even just say, have the AI ask you things to make something really good. If you just did a statement like that, AI is going to be like, okay, here are the 10 questions I need answered. What's your industry? Who are we targeting? You know, it's going to come up with those, and then you'll answer them all, and it'll make it for you right there. And sure, I bet it'll be at least like 50% there, enough of a jumping off point that'll wow people. So I would just say that, because I think a lot of time and I say that advice because my wife is a little marketer in a big marketing pond. And she's like, oh, I got to make this marketing plan. I'm like, ChatGPT, start with that. And she's like, oh, I know, but no, stop saying but, and just like start with that, and then copy that to, after you give it, answer the questions for it, put that in a Google Doc, and then refine it. Like I think doing just that is stuff that knocks literal 4 hours off your week on task, you know, that, because it takes a lot to get started on something, you know? And so I don't know. I always give her a hard time. She needs to do better.
Yeah. I know I end up using it more for when I'm stuck. Like sometimes you're like, yes, this is my jam. I know exactly what to do. But sometimes you're like, I've worked with clients all day. My brain is fried, but I need to get this thing done. I just don't know where to start. And so if you just do that, you're like, I need a way to start something. Like I need this email to do this. Ask it to generate content, and then obviously you can apply it, send it as is if you want, but I never do. I always put my spin on it. So
well, yes, we use it a lot internally for brainstorms too. That's a whole nother thing. But just again, when we're all brain fried and we all have to show up to a Thursday meeting brainstorm, we sometimes are just like, okay, let's see what AI can help spit out for us. And then we talk about it, you know. It's
basically like another team member where it's going to help along the way. Yeah, two heads are better than one.
Exactly. It's another person on your team that can just help spark something, you know. Well, nice. I hope everybody learned something. That was a great convo. Oh my God. I had stuff for us to talk about, but we just
rambled.
We just rambled. And I hope it was, you know, I hope the listeners, watchers, viewers, whatever, just take away some of that practical advice and just start using it. It's really changed some of the things we do at Web Canopy. And even for me personally, it's helped make me a better designer. So
awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching.